Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 8. So it's been a while since I did a video, primarily based off feedback from you guys. And that's mainly because I sort of wanted to wait until the end of the most recent storyline, as that, of course, can, fuel a lot of questions about what is going on going forward, along with just questions about, what just happened on the show in general recently. So in this video, I've compiled 5, is it 5? I think it's 5, hopefully I can count, of the most asked questions that I've seen in the comments section of, recent videos over the past couple to a few weeks. So there won't be specific people asking questions, like I won't screenshot it and, put it on the screen or in the video like I usually do. So it won't be like, Jimmy Bob asks, is Barry going to the fair? I don't know, something weird like that. Was that really lame? I think it was. Anyway, there won't be examples of that. It's just a general, question that a lot of people have asked. And that's just because these were so common. But I'm sure a good amount of you would have questioned something along the lines of one or most of these questions that we will go over. So yeah, to put it in simple terms, it's a Q&A video. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comments section down below your general thoughts on any of the stuff we go over, as well as maybe any other questions you might have. I'm very curious to hear what you guys, because obviously this might be opinionated, especially like maybe 2 of them. So obviously, give me your feedback. I'm always curious to read it. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, and everything like that, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? So the first question is, do you think they are setting up the return of Killer Frost at the end of episode 14? So obviously, hopefully you've watched the most recent episode, because I don't know why you'd be watching a current Flash video. But anyway, right at the end, we see that Caitlin went to Frost's funeral and took a bit of her hair in her apartment. She set it up as like a lab, pretty much, of sorts. Like all this technological equipment and scientific equipment is everywhere. She's even stole some like genetic stuff. I don't know if she specifically said where she took it from, but she's working with Chillblaine, or Mark. I always call him Chillblaine because that's who he's meant to be from the comics. But Caitlin's getting him to help with whatever she's doing, and we just know that she has some of Frost's hair, and she's planning on bringing Frost back. Now, the thing with this is that I'm ruling out Frost as we know her coming back, because we went through a big death with her. Then we spent an entire episode, honoring her through multiple different character perspectives and everything like that. So we're definitely not, at least in my opinion, going to get Frost back as she was. If we did, I'd be like, why do we waste all that time? And the Flash has really never done that. So I don't know why they would start doing it now. And also, Danielle Panabaker said, I think it was in an interview leading up to episode 14, that by the end of the season, so, when season 8 ends and we lead into season 9, we should get a good understanding where Caitlin as a character is going in season 9. So is that suggesting maybe Killer Frost? Is that like the end game for Caitlin? Now, for me, I don't really like the idea of that as like Caitlin as a character, her end game ending up a villain, because she's never been corrupted in that way, if that makes sense. Like Killer Frost was his other identity within her. It was never Caitlin herself. So I don't know if I'd actually be on board if that's like the end game. However, we could get some mismanagement through what Caitlin's trying to do, where maybe Killer Frost as, an entity does come back in its most evil form. So this would be like sort of like what we saw in season 3, and I guess also like, when we went to like Earth 2 and saw the Killer Frost over there. So it would be like very much like that character, but its own entity like we had with Frost. I'm very curious to see what they're doing there, because I don't know if they're going to waste time with Caitlin doing this. I don't see the point of it. So I'm assuming there's going to be a result from it, but I also don't see Caitlin being transformed herself. So I'm not too sure which way they're going to go. I'm curious. My only worry is that they change Caitlin into Killer Frost as the end game for the character, which I don't think on a story or just a writing basis or storytelling basis is the best way to go or the right way to go. But we don't know where they're going. I don't want to predict it too early and make my judgments up too early, because they've literally just started this arc. So we have to wait and see where it goes. But speaking of arcs, was the Deathstorm arc good in my opinion? If so, would there be any changes that you would make? And overall, I enjoyed the Deathstorm arc. Now, it depends if you include like episode 8 and 9 and 10, because 8, 9, and 10 is really the Black Flame. And like some people are like, I've seen like the actors when they've talked about it, only referring to 11, 12, and 13 as the arc. But then Eric Wallace, I think, referred to episode 8 or 9 being the start. So if I included 8, 9, and 10, I'd say maybe those 3 episodes should have only been 2, because it felt like we spent a lot of time with the Black Flame without spending too much time with him at the same time. But regardless, overall, whether it is episode 8 to 13 or 11 to 13, I still enjoyed the Deathstorm after what it was. Deathstorm was really cool looking. I think they defeated him in a logical way that made sense, and they sort of pretty much made it clear why they ended it the way they did. The only thing I would maybe do or change is maybe involve Barry a tiny bit more. And that's just because we know when we went to like season 2 after season 1, that he just held a lot of regrets in season 2, especially the early parts about the death of Ronnie, and those would have been brought up again with all of this going on. I think maybe they could have centered in on that a bit more. But then again, the arc was supposed to be a personal story for Caitlin, and they achieved that. So it's really maybe a nitpick. I don't know if it's a nitpick or not, but it's just, that's a tiny thing. It's just maybe wanting Barry involved a bit more. But as I said, it was meant to be Caitlin focused, and it was still fun to watch, even though it wasn't focused necessarily straight around Barry, and he was slightly involved. But yeah, that's probably the tiny thing I would change, is maybe involve Barry a tiny bit more, even though I understand why he wasn't involved as much as Caitlin, because the story was meant to be for her. Next up, are we getting to the end of Tom Cavanagh's Reverse Flash? And that's why we have a change of suit for him at the end of this season. So obviously this might be a spoiler for like some people, but if you're on YouTube, you've probably seen at least a thumbnail, or even if you're on Twitter, you've probably seen it. But we know Reverse Flash, or Eobard Thawne, is getting a different suit towards the end of this season, and of course it's not yellow. Now, I won't put a picture of it up on screen just in case you haven't seen it, so I can detail it, but you won't get spoiled visually. If you've seen it, then you've seen it. You don't need me to show it again. And my theory is that I think it depends whether season 9 is going to be the last. Like, it's really confusing whether it's going to... I've been saying for a couple of seasons, actually I'd say probably 3 or 4, that I thought season 9 was going to be the last. Now we're getting season 9, but they haven't confirmed whether it's the last one or not. Now we might get that news at upfronts, probably in a couple of days or something from when this video goes up. Not too sure when this video is going to go up specifically, but we might get news on whether season 9 is the final season there. If that's the case, then I think maybe season 8 and towards the end, like, how they're wrapping up this season could be the end of the Tom Cavanagh Reverse Flash. And then maybe season 9 is maybe the OG Reverse Flash with not Tom Cavanagh playing him. And we pretty much see the culmination, in the season 8 finale of this Eobard Thawne that we've hung up with for so long becoming all powerful, but maybe it being, his downfall at the same time. I'm very curious to see how they play it out. But it's just that Tom Cavanagh's just been Reverse Flash for so long, so you get attached to it. So, and I don't know if they bring Matt Ledger back if they did like an OG Reverse Flash. So I think it might be the end of it, but at the same time, I'm not 100% sure either. Like, it's just a bit of a guess. But speaking of the end of the season, do you actually think the surprise cameo has to do with the cliffhanger for this season? So, of course, I'm sure most of you would know or would have heard in some regards, whether it's through me or just the general internet, that there's going to be a surprise cameo in the Flash Season 8 finale that apparently no one's going to be able to guess. Now, I know when they say that, it's just like, oh, it's because it's not someone who's necessarily a Flash character, but it's someone that we've seen before in the Arrowverse. And if that's the case, I don't know why they would show up. Like, my only thought is that it would be to maybe set up like another Armageddon style event to start season 9. So in that regards, I guess it would be a cliffhanger because it's setting something up for the following season. So I think if they are going to do another Armageddon style event, to kick off season 9 like we did with season 8, Eric Wallace has teased that that's a possibility as well, then they might announce that up front. So maybe they go, season 9 is going to be the final season of The Flash. However, did you like Armageddon? Well, we're going to be doing something similar to that as well at the beginning of season 9 of The Flash also. Yeah, so hopefully this video is uploaded before the upfronts are on, just so I'm not talking in the, about the upfronts as if it's going to happen when it's already happened. But yeah, that's the only, I think, way that like the surprise cameo would be a cliffhanger if it's not a Flash character. Like if it's something else like Superman, for example, then yeah, I guess it would be setting up like an Armageddon style thing. And of course, I'll be very curious to see what that might be. But it's also important to remember that Superman and Lois has their season 2 finale the week before the Flash season 8 finale. So maybe they've scheduled it like that intentionally. And also the showrunner for Superman and Lois, Todd Helbing, did say that in the finale for this season of Superman and Lois, you will get bearings on the Arrowverse and the connectivity that Superman and Lois has to it. So maybe that all connects to each other. I guess we'll wait and find out. And the final question, why do you think they are spending so much time trying to make Allegra and Chester a couple? So some people disagree when I say this, and no offense, but I think you're in the minority, but they just have no chemistry. I don't know why they're trying to make them a couple just based off that. But in regards to like the underlyings of, I guess specifically why the characters are on the show in the first place, is that Eric Wallace, who of course is the showrunner for The Flash, has said in multiple interviews that his favorite character from the comics is Chester P. Runk, who's obviously Chester. However, something that a lot of people don't know, because I don't think Eric Wallace has ever said this, but it takes like 2 minutes of research to learn it, is that Eric Wallace literally created the character of Allegra in the comics when he was writing the Titans comics for DC. So he literally created the character of Allegra. So he's put his favorite character in Chester as well as a literal character he created, and now they're a couple. I don't think that's a coincidence. Also, they're the two newest characters on the show, so maybe he feels that like that's the easiest way to build a connection to the audience is by putting them together, when in my opinion it's making it harder to connect to them, because I like Chester when he's just Chester and he's, you know, just talking to Team Flash, but I hate when he's with Allegra, and I don't really like Allegra on Team Flash, but I don't mind her when she's working with Iris. I think she works well when they're doing the journalism stuff. So I think they're going about it the completely wrong way in regards to putting them together. Some people might like it. That's fair enough. I personally don't see it. But I think that's why they're together, because they're the two newest characters. And I guess it's seeming like a bit of a cheat code to get people to care about them. But also Eric Wallace has connections to them personally, whether it's his favorite character in the form of Chester, or, as I said, a literal character he created in the comics in the form of Allegra. But yeah, guys, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and found it insightful in some way, shape, or form. If you enjoyed it, let me drop a like on the video. Sorry if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.